Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and when we made the band circlet the other day, apparently I was off screen more than I thought I was. So we're going to make another one. This one we're going to call Cleopatra's band because we're using a cobra on it. So let's turn down and I'll show you what I intend to do. Pulled my mat a little bit further over here because I'm thinking that I try to have my mat right on the edge of the screen on the bottom, and well, I need to give it over here because I try to stay on this white mat. So what I did was I moved it over some in hopes of keeping myself in where I want to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my metal cutters and I'm going to take this band here. You can see it has it's notched the wrong way, so we want it straight, so I'll just cut that end off. So there we go, that end is now cut. And now we need to take and measure our headpiece to see how big we want this to be. Now, this head is smaller than my own, so we will have to have an extender. I think it's about, it says 19 inches. So we want to cut about between 18 and 19 inches so that it will stay pretty closely on our head here. Well, actually 19 and 20. I want it to be long enough that if we do something, we can cut a little bit off if we need to. And my tape measure is not staying out for some reason. So we'll take our wire. We're going to try and straighten it some as we pull it out. It's easier to measure that way. So now we'll take our tape measure and we'll stick it right here at the end where we just trimmed it off. And because this is a flat wire, it's easier to measure. So we're just going to go around, and we want at least 19. We want 19 inches. Could go a little bit more, but we want at least 19. So here's 19. So we want to cut her somewhere right in here. We'll just take our wire cutters or our metal shears. Whoa, this one seems to be a little tougher than the ones that we did already done, even though it's the same gauge. So here is our 19-inch piece of wire. Let's see how well it fits around our head. And it's about perfectly where I want it. See here, it doesn't quite meet in the back here. So the next thing we want to do with this is to take our wire cutters again, and we want to cut the corners off. So it's not rounded per se, but it's a little more rounded than it would be if the corners were still there. This one could be just a little bit more. Okay. Now that I've got that cut, there's one more thing to cut before we put our pliers away. See, our cobra has a built-in bail. Well, I don't want that bail on there, so we're going to take these and we're just going to cut the bail off. There we go. It's gone. It's actually up in my stuff. And I'm going to see if I can't trim this off a little bit more in the back here. Not sure it will, but so we'll have to file it. So there's that one. So now we're done with our clippers, so we'll close those up. I always put the tips back on, or the plastic piece back on the tips so that it protects them. Put those aside. And the next thing we want to do is file these things down. So because these are going to be a little bit sharp from just having been cut, we want to file them. And we want to file both sides. And fill and make sure they're not sharp anymore. Oops, I felt a spot. Okay, that one feels pretty good. Now we'll do the other side, and then we're going to do our cobra. Ouch, just filed my finger. Something I advise you not to do, file your fingers. Okay, that one's pretty good. Now we're going to file the cobra some, because we don't want sharp edges on it either. It's going to be against your head. You don't want sharp pieces. Okay. This cobra has tiny little eye sockets. This side looks better. So we're going to see if we can get a little black in this side to make it look okay. Now we've got our cobra ready to go, and our piece here is ready to go. So the next thing we want to do is we want to get out, oh, there's still a little sharpness right there. Let's see, where did I do it with it? It's right here. Okay. Now we need our twist punch. There it is. Now a twist punch has two sides, a smaller side and a larger side. We want to use, oops, go down. You don't need to be up. We want to use the larger size because we want a good enough hole to have our jump rings go through easily. So what we want to do is we want to lift this up just enough to let our piece go underneath it. And we want to center it as much as possible with just with some edge at the back. See, I've got it in here. So then once that's in the way you want it, you just turn this until it goes through your metal. It just did. We'll pull it back up. Take this side off. Now, sometimes you have to work it off, and sometimes you actually even have to bring it all the way up so that it's hitting the top, and when you pull it out, it forces the piece out, just like that. And see how I've now got a hole right here on this side? Now we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Got to twist this back down. Now we put this baby in, center it up. Tighten it down enough to see where you're at for sure. Okay. Then twist until you go through. And we just did. So now we bring it back up. It doesn't want to come off again, so we'll keep bringing it up. Try to push it off again. Boy, this particular color, this is the antique brass color, feels heavier than the other ones did. Not that it probably is, but it just feels like it is. Now we have 2 holes. And now that we have those, we're going to get our pieces here. Now I don't have this particular color in either jump ring. Well, actually, this is antique copper, and it actually looks closer in color to the antique bronze. This is antique brass. So we may switch these for a couple of these. So what we want to do now is we're going to put on our lobster claw in the back. So we'll get our jump rings. Put one side on with the lobster claw. Now, normally I use a smaller jump ring for putting the lobster claw on, but this one you need the bigger one because you're going across that hunk of metal where this was at. You might be able to get away with a medium-sized one, but I prefer to use this larger one. And I didn't check my jump ring to make sure it was working, so let's do that now. Yeah, it's working fine. I always check my jump ring because they can be broken, and then they won't open and close properly. So now we'll take, I have this bronze chain. I'm debating if I want to switch it to something different. I'm not real thrilled with it. So I'll be back in a moment. I have an antique copper extender chain, so I'm going to use that. I think it's closer in colors than some of these other things. So we'll put this jump ring on this side. Put the extender right there with it. And now we'll close it up. Now I'm going to hook our lobster claw into the large jump ring as opposed to our extender chain right now. And we'll check it on the head to see how it's fitting. You can see, as you can see, the band needs some adjusting because it wants to go that way and I don't want it to. So we're gonna make it be a little different. So let's get our head. Here she is. We're going to put our band right across the forehead and then drop it down in the back. And she's fitting relatively well. As you can see, though, we do have these bump outs on the side, which means she needs some adjusting to this wire so that it fits more against the head. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get some E6000 and we're going to E6000 our snake right here in the middle of the forehead. So we'll take this off. You can see it still popped back to the other way. And one of those reasons is because this is still rounded more from being in the packaging, the wire. And now I just got it to go too far, because now it wants to go the other direction. So we need to get a little bit out of this side too. So that's good. It's looking pretty good right there, so I like that. So let's get out our E6000 and our silicone mat. Here's our silicone mat. Oop, come here, you. It's what we use for gluing on because it doesn't retain the glue as easy as the other. And so now I'm going to use these sort of gray crystals for a couple of more crystals down the side. I must still have some glue on my tweezers here, so I will have to clean those. But these are the crystals we're going to use. So what the next step we want to do is measure our band again from jump ring to jump ring. It looks like it's twisted or something here. Let's get you undone. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we will take our tape measure and we're going to measure from end to end. We're going to hit the jump ring. Come on, crystals, get out of the way so I don't knock you off. We're going to put our tab right here against this first jump ring where the circle is, or the hole. Then we're going to bring her around. And you don't have to continue to hold this. It's flat wire, so it's going to keep pretty close. As long as you hold one side, the side you're working with, you'll be fine. So it is not quite 18.5, or yeah. So we want about a little over 9.25. Your own. So about right here. Take a Sharpie and I'm going to hit a little dot. Then I'm going to get my glue and we're going to glue the cobra on right there. Okay. Now, in all likelihood, this isn't going to want to come out right away. Oh, it is coming out pretty good. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big bit of glue. I say a pretty big bit of glue because we're going to glue the cobra right there. I need to close this so I don't have glue everywhere. And I just put glue on the mat, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is glue our cobra right here. Oh, come here, stay there. Now you're going to have to hold him for a few because E6000 takes a bit to dry. We want him to stay there. Oop, no coming off. This guy is heavier than the other pieces we have put on here, so he wants to keep coming off. So we're going to have to let him dry for a while before we put our crystals on. Come on, you. So now we got to let him dry about 15-20 minutes, and we'll come back and then put the crystals on. Okay, after we've let this dry for a while and we think it's good enough that it's not going to go sliding everywhere, we want to decide on our crystal spots. So we'll take our I'm thinking an inch for the first one, maybe even a little less from the body of the. So right here, I didn't show you that, did I? So we don't want our little cobra to wiggle around too much, but we want it to be an inch from the body. So right here, I think, is where we're going to put the first crystal. So we'll put a little notch there. Do the same for the other side. So about right where my thumb was at. Now I think we're not going to want it a full inch for the next one, maybe a 1/2 to 1/4 inch or 3/4. So let's go to right here. And the same on this side. Okay. Got E6000 on my tape measure. So we'll get a little more E6000 out and put a little dab on each of those 4 spots. Ugh, stop, Runnel. And yes, it's dropping on the mat, and that's fine because I can clean the mat off really easily. So let's get this closed back up. We are done with it. So we'll put it away. Now we're just going to take our tweezers and get the biggest crystal and put it, is this the biggest? Come here, you guys. Goes here. The smaller one goes here. Now we turn over here. Big one. And a smaller one. Oops, up on the bar. Oh, that one had more glue than the other, so that one's going to need some cleaning. Well, they'll all need a little cleaning, just not a lot. This one's going to actually need quite a bit. So now again, we need to let it dry for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then once it dries, we'll take and pull as much of the excess glue off as we can, and she'll be finished. Isn't that cool? So let's let it dry, and we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, these pieces on the mat that I let drop are getting rubbery. So when we're at that stage, we can generally start pulling some of this excess glue off. So now this little one doesn't have hardly anything. I'm not going to worry about it. This second one here, is just a little bit. It's got it up top here. So you want to try and get this off when it's about 15 to 20 minutes dry. That way they'll usually stick still, but the excess glue will generally come off. Now when I'm cleaning the excess glue, I tend to put my finger on what it's around, like this crystal. Put my thumbnail down on it. That way, hopefully, it will keep it from deciding to try and pull up when I'm working on it. Just a little bit of a nudge right there still. Come on, you. So we have to get this little teeny bit here off, and then we'll work on the other one over there. Now we just need to, I think we're going to need to put a little more glue around this snake because he wants to wiggle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my E6000 and I'm going to squirt a bit right here. See, he's got a little gap right there between the two. So let's get a little going here. And because this is on the back, I'm not as worried about it showing as I do on the front. So now we'll actually put that on there. Close our glue up. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this with my finger, which isn't ideal, but it will work. And that is, I'm going to take and push this into the top and the bottom. and then it's got to dry again. But it is finished other than the drying time for our snake. So let's turn up and we will see what we got going here. So there we go. There is Cleopatra's band. Like I said, our snake has to dry. The crystals on the little black crystals need to dry a little more too, but they're not. Oh, I see little runners, probably from when I just put the extra glue on. But he's got a little on his face. I'll have to get that off. But there is our band. Isn't that pretty? This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we have been making this pretty band using a cobra, some crystals, and flat wire from Beadalon. Ta-da! So now we have to set this baby aside to dry, but she is finished. So let's put her up here to dry. And again, this has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we have been using items from my stash to make this lovely band circlet.